Wow. When that clear voice echoed through the heavens and earth, a thunderous uproar immediately rang out across the entire Northern Song Spiritual Academy. Countless astonished gazes turned to the slender figure of light in the sky. Mu Chen, Shun Songxing, Li Xiantong, Wen Qingxian, and others widened their eyes in disbelief. They clearly never expected that Mu Chen, who had disappeared for several years, would appear once again at this moment. What shocked them even more was that Mu Chen had easily neutralized the attack from the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor. It was known that even a late-stage Saint-grade expert could not do such a thing so effortlessly. Clearly, during these years of disappearance, Mu Chen's strength had grown beyond recognition. Brother Mu Chen. Xun'er stared dazedly at the figure in the sky. Then, her face flushed with excitement, and she smiled at the stunned members of the Luo God Society around her, saying, "Did you see that? This is another founder of our Luo God Society, Senior Mu Chen. Wow, so amazing." All the students murmured in awe. They could sense that when the figure appeared in the sky, the terrifying demonic pressure from the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor was completely suppressed by Mu Chen alone, no longer able to interfere with them in the slightest. This meant that their senior Mu Chen's strength had reached an incredibly terrifying level. Everyone, don't be afraid anymore. Since Brother Mu Chen is here, that demon won't be able to destroy our Northern Song Spiritual Academy. Brother Mu Chen will definitely teach him a lesson. The other students, hearing Xun'er's blindly confident words, couldn't help but scratch their heads, trying not to smile awkwardly. "Xun'er, sister, you shouldn't speak so lightly of the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor. He's one of the top experts from the extraterritorial evil clan. In our great 1,000 worlds, apart from the Flame Emperor and Martial Ancestor, who dares to underestimate him?" Nevertheless, when that figure appeared in the sky, the atmosphere of fear and panic in the Northern Song Spiritual Academy naturally faded away. Mu Chen. In the sky, Luo Li also stared at the slender figure that appeared in front of her, seemingly just as incredulous. After all, during Mu Chen's years of seclusion, even she hadn't received much news. Upon hearing Luo Li's voice, the spiritual light slightly dimmed, and the slender figure turned around, revealing a familiar face. Who else could it be but Mu Chen? "I received the news and rushed here, but fortunately, I'm not late." Mu Chen gave Luo Li a faint smile. Upon seeing his familiar face, Luo Li's previously tense heart finally relaxed. She immediately felt her spiritual energy fluctuate, and her delicate body couldn't help but soften. She had clearly exerted all her strength to resist the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor earlier. A hand reached out and gently wrapped around her slender waist. Mu Chen gazed at the slightly tired look on her face and couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. "I'm sorry, I haven't been by your side these years." Luo Li smiled softly. "You chose to enter solitary seclusion for us, didn't you? I'm not the kind of unreasonable person." Mu Chen had chosen seclusion to bear loneliness and pressure, all for this great 1,000 worlds, and for her as well. "All right, leave the rest to me." Mu Chen gently stroked Luo Li's smooth and delicate face. Luo Li, feeling his affectionate gesture, blushed slightly. She placed her jade hand on Mu Chen's chest and pushed him back a step, laughing softly. Her delicate form floated backward. "Don't take advantage of me. Solve that guy first." As Mu Chen watched Luo Li's figure, he gently rubbed his fingers, reminiscing about the tender sensation of her skin like warm jade. His heart couldn't help but flutter. "If you're done saying your goodbyes, then prepare to meet your end." Just as Mu Chen enjoyed that moment of warmth, a cold voice, filled with murderous intent, suddenly rang out. Mu Chen turned around and saw the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor glaring at him with a chilling expression, a terrifying killing intent slowly emanating from his body. "Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor, we meet again." Mu Chen gave a faint smile at the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor. Years ago, when he broke through to Heavenly Supreme in that lower dimension, he had encountered an ambush from the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor. Fortunately, Martial Ancestor had come to his aid, and the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor was finally stopped. The last time, someone came to save you. This time, don't expect anyone to help. The voice of the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor echoed coldly, making the entire world feel frozen and sinister. You killed my son, and today, I will kill you and all your lovers and friends, leaving no one alive. In the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, countless people couldn't help but change color at the overwhelming killing intent of the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor. What shocked them even more was that Chen and the Demon Emperor seemed to have a past grudge, with Chen having even killed the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor's son. However, facing the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor's fierce gaze, Chen merely chuckled lightly. His dark eyes locked onto the Demon Emperor as he slowly spoke. I think the real question for you now is how to save your life. Haha, you're clueless about your own death. The Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor mocked, laughing coldly as he fixed his eyes on Chen and said, You think that just because you've reached the Saint grade, you can challenge me? Boom. As his words fell, the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor's face contorted with rage. His hands clenched, and an overwhelming death energy gathered around him, eventually forming a black demonic banner. Corpse Demon Banner. The Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor roared as the banner swung, releasing countless shadows of corpses that merged into a black river of death. Corpse Demon Underworld River. The Death River roared like a giant dragon, surging toward Chen. Wherever it passed, the space collapsed, and death energy spread. Even Saint-grade experts dared not face it head-on, fearing it might taint their own spiritual energy. As the river of death descended, Chen raised his head. His handsome face remained calm, and with a flick of his finger, he lightly tapped the air. Immortal Ancient River. Boom. An ancient river seemed to emerge from Chen's fingertip, as though it had crossed millennia, flowing with time itself. Anything that fell into it would be eroded by time, decaying into nothingness. Boom boom. The two rivers collided in the air, and the space above them began to collapse. During the clash, the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor's expression changed dramatically, as he sensed that no matter how much his underworld river tried to invade, the ancient river remained unaffected. Instead, as the ancient river flowed through, his underworld river began to collapse, with countless corpses screaming as they decayed. Boom boom. The violent shockwaves spread, and in just a few breaths, the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor's underworld river completely disintegrated. Damn it! The Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor could no longer stay calm. He suddenly leaped up from his bone throne, his eyes dark with suspicion as he glared at Chen. Chen's power was just too overwhelming. Furthermore, as Chen made his move, for some reason, the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor sensed a dangerously ominous aura emanating from Chen. It was an aura he had only felt from two people in the Great Thousand Worlds. Those two were the Flame Emperor and the Martial Ancestor. Could it be that in just 5 years, Chen had already reached the level of the Flame Emperor and Martial Ancestor? Impossible. The Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor's heart shook, his expression changing from dark to uncertain, before turning cold and ruthless. It seemed that today, he had to probe deeper into this man's strength, and he couldn't afford to hold back any longer. I'll see just how long you can keep pretending. Heavenly Corpse Divine Demon Statue. The Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor's hands moved as though embracing the sun and moon, and with a sudden shake, boundless demonic energy erupted. Gradually, a gigantic demon statue formed behind him, standing tall as if it were reaching for the heavens. The statue was surrounded by death energy, its body covered in countless horrific faces. The sound of its screeches echoed throughout the heavens and earth, and just the sound itself was enough to cause one's spiritual energy to backfire and their body to explode. A terrifying demonic pressure slowly radiated from it, causing the entire northern Song continent to tremble. At the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, countless people gazed at the enormous statue in the sky, their faces pale with fear. They had no doubt that the power of the statue could tear apart the entire continent. The terrifying power even made Luo Li, Xiao Xiao, and Lin Jing, who possessed formidable strength, feel a deep sense of dread. The Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor glared viciously at Chen, his body slowly rising until he merged with the Heavenly Corpse Divine Demon statue behind him. Buzz! The giant eye of the demon statue suddenly opened, and demonic light erupted, as if it wanted to tear the world apart. A roar filled with boundless killing intent reverberated through the heavens and earth. Chen, prepare to pay with your life for my son. Today, you will undoubtedly die. Faced with the roar of the black corpse, heavenly demon emperor, Chen also raised his head. He stared at the massive demon statue, and then the corner of his mouth curled into a sneer, as if carrying an air of contempt. Is this really your strongest power? He muttered to himself, then took a step forward. Since that's the case, you can go die now. As Chen took that step, his figure instantly appeared before the heavenly corpse divine demon statue, moving as though through teleportation. His expression was as calm as a quiet pool of water, and the contemptuous smile at the corner of his mouth suddenly widened. You're asking for death. Back then, I could chase you down like a stray dog. This time, I can just as easily crush you. Seemingly noticing the sneer on Chen's lips, the heavenly corpse divine demon statue suddenly let out a deep, rumbling roar, its killing intent surging, shaking the void. At this moment, the black corpse heavenly demon emperor was clearly enraged. To be despised by a mere insect in his eyes was the greatest insult to him. Boom. Endless demonic energy rose, and the giant eyes of the demon statue, standing between heaven and earth, erupted with cold demonic light. Then the statue's giant hand formed a seal, freezing into a strange symbol. Demonic energy gathered, transforming into countless sinister and eerie runes on the demonic hand. Each of these runes exuded terrifying energy fluctuations capable of sending ordinary saint-grade experts into a panic. Heavenly Corpse, Ghost Demon Seal. A gloomy voice echoed throughout the world, as the Heavenly Corpse divine demon statue formed a fist imprint and suddenly hurled it forward. As the fist imprint was unleashed, it condensed into millions of ghostly figures. They screeched and flew around the imprint, an endless coldness spreading out, causing the earth itself to be covered with chilling frost. All life seemed to be stripped away by this freezing cold. This punch was like the seal of the god of death, separating life and death. At the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, everyone felt their hair stand on end. As they gazed at the demonic imprint falling from the sky, an overwhelming sense of terror surged from deep within, causing their spiritual energy to spiral out of control, triggering chaos and trembling throughout the academy. If that punch landed, it would likely level everything within 100,000 miles, extinguishing all life. So this is the power of a top-tier heavenly demon emperor. The North Abyss Dragon Kuin's face turned pale, filled with bitterness. In the face of such power, he realized that even stepping into the heavenly supreme realm made one no more than a slightly larger insect. He couldn't help but wonder, could Chen actually withstand the full force of the Black Corpse heavenly demon emperor? In the sky, Chen looked up at the demonic imprint falling from the heavens. He could feel the terrifying death energy, which made him slightly surprised. This punch was undoubtedly the Black Corpse heavenly demon emperor's strongest move. Even if Qin Tian and the others were here, they would likely have to temporarily retreat before its might. If this had been 5 years ago, Chen would probably have had no choice but to run as far as he could. But unfortunately, this was 5 years later. Chen hovered in midair, staring at the rapidly enlarging demonic imprint in his eyes. The demonic energy surged, yet his robe didn't even flutter. After a few breaths, just as the demonic imprint was about to fall upon him, he slowly raised his hand and extended his finger, gently pointing at the massive demonic imprint that covered the sky. The two figures stood in stark contrast. One, the gigantic demon mark that could block out the sun. The other, a mere ant, with a finger that looked no larger than a hair. Then, the two collided. At the moment of impact, countless students at the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy let out cries of despair, as the scene before them mirrored that of a mantis facing an oncoming wheel. The Black Corpse heavenly demon emperor's roar echoed as millions of demonic lights exploded from the demonic imprint. The terrifying power descended, about to obliterate Chen, who was in the way, turning him into nothingness. The overwhelming force poured down, and the millions of ghostly figures howled as they rushed forward. In Chen's eyes, everything was reflected, and he seemed to smile. His slender finger, which had extended, gently flicked the demonic imprint. Clang. At the moment Mu Chen flicked his finger, it seemed as if the entire world was pierced by a crisp sound. An invisible ripple spread outward, boundless and endless. An indescribable force seemed to descend at this moment, wrapping around Mu Chen's fingertips. Under this force, all things in heaven and earth fell silent. Even the spiritual energy between heaven and earth began to show signs of reverence, as if the subjects were bowing before their king. Luo Li, Xiao Xiao, Lin Jing, and the others all suddenly widened their eyes in shock. They stared at Mu Chen in astonishment because, at this moment, a mysterious pressure radiated from his body, causing the spiritual energy within them to fall still. There was even a sensation of pressure, making it almost impossible for them to resist the urge to kneel before him. Thud! Thud! They barely managed to hold themselves up, but the ordinary students around them couldn't bear it and immediately dropped to their knees, their faces filled with horror. With a flick of Mu Chen's finger, the countless shadows of corpses that had been howling suddenly froze. Mu Chen's expression remained unfazed as he gazed at the massive demon statue before him. The terrifying demon seal also seemed to stagnate, suspended in front of him, unable to descend. Then, he gently flicked his finger again. Buzz! A ripple spread from his fingertip, expanding outward. As the ripple spread, it felt as though a breeze swept through heaven and earth. The countless corpse shadows turned into blue smoke, vanishing with the ripples. The face of the heavenly corpse divine demon statue was filled with uncontrollable shock. Fear appeared in its eyes, and a sharp, horrified voice rang out. This force, is it the world force? How could this be? Impossible. The world force can only be wielded by those ranked on the heavenly scroll. How could you possibly achieve this? Mu Chen gazed at the terrified face of the heavenly corpse divine demon statue, his expression as calm as a still lake, his sleeve flicking slightly. As I said before, what you should be thinking about now is how to preserve your life, but you've chosen the wrong path. Crack, crack. As the shadows of corpses dissipated, cracks appeared on the enormous demon fist seal, spreading rapidly. The heavenly corpse divine demon statue let out a piercing scream. It could feel a terrifying force invading, and where it passed, the demonic energy within it began to disintegrate. It was the power of the great thousand worlds, so immense that it was impossible to resist. Damn, so you're the third ranked on the heavenly scroll of the great thousand worlds. No, I must send this message to my God. The heavenly corpse divine demon statue roared, and the next moment, the giant statue exploded in a violent blast, releasing a terrifying demonic aura that surged toward the North Song continent, clearly intending to destroy it. Mu Chen looked on indifferently as the black corpse heavenly demon emperor fought back in a desperate attempt. He gently exhaled. Whoosh! It felt as if a spiritual wind swept across heaven and earth, carrying the world force with it. The devastating demonic aura was completely wiped out in an instant. Whoosh! At that moment, a faint demonic light flashed, attempting to tear through space and escape. But just as it was about to rip apart the fabric of space, the black corpse heavenly demon emperor suddenly realized he had lost control of his body. Mu Chen's figure slowly appeared before him. Black corpse heavenly demon emperor, are you planning to flee? Mu Chen looked at him with a faint smile. At this moment, the black corpse heavenly demon emperor was surrounded by dimmed demonic energy, clearly severely injured. His face had lost its previous sinister expression, becoming pale and filled with fear. Clearly, the power Mu Chen had demonstrated earlier had terrified him. So, you've been preparing for years in the Great Thousand Worlds. Looks like you're the last hope of the Great Thousand Worlds. The black corpse heavenly demon emperor stared at Mu Chen, his voice cold. Mu Chen glanced at him indifferently. The black corpse heavenly demon emperor, realizing escape was impossible, turned vicious once again. He sneered at Mu Chen and said, so what if you've become like the Flame Emperor or the Martial Ancestor? Do you think the combined strength of the three of you can challenge my God? Haha, how naive you are. You have no idea how terrifying my God was at his peak. That's right. This time, the Great Thousand Worlds will surely be destroyed by my extraterritorial evil clan. Mu Chen's gaze remained unwavering. After the black corpse heavenly demon emperor finished speaking, He extended his hand. A terrifying power gathered within his palm. Now that you've finished talking, it's time for you to die. With a sudden grip of his palm, the body of the black corpse heavenly demon emperor was squeezed by an irresistible force, bursting with a thunderous crash. The demonic aura erupted violently, but was quickly dispersed. However, the sharp laughter of the black corpse heavenly demon emperor lingered even as he died. Haha, my god will avenge me. Wait for it, Mu Chen, your great 1,000 worlds will surely be destroyed. As the black corpse heavenly demon emperor fell, the demonic energy in the air began to dissipate, and once again sunlight shone down upon the land, illuminating the countless scars on the earth. Within the Northern Song Spiritual Academy, everyone stared blankly at the sky. Even Bei Ming Dragon Kuan, Shun Songxing, Li Xiantong, and Wen Qingxian could not help but take a sharp breath. They looked up at the slender figure standing in the sky. The dazzling sunlight bathed his body, making him shine like a radiant sun. No one had expected that the black corpse heavenly demon emperor, who seemed capable of destroying the heavens and the earth, would fall like this, completely defeated by Mu Chen's hand. Clearly, Mu Chen had reached an unfathomable level. Boom. The countless students of the Northern Song Spiritual Academy finally snapped out of their euphoric relief. In the next moment, a wave of cheers, as overwhelming as a mountain, erupted across the sky. Mu Chen, Bei Ming Dragon Kuan, hearing the excited and fervent cheers, let out a relieved sigh. He then smiled at the equally shocked headmaster of the Great Song Academy, standing beside him. It seems that our Northern Song Spiritual Academy has produced an extraordinary student. Deafening cheers echoed through the sky of Northern Song Spiritual Academy. All the students had flushed faces and eyes filled with fervor, gazing up at the tall figure in the sky with an expression of unspoken admiration. During this time, they had lived under the constant threat of the extraterritorial evil clan, never finding peace for even a moment. Yet, who could have predicted that, at this most perilous moment, such a dramatic turn of events would occur? The black corpse heavenly demon emperor, once seen as nearly invincible, had been crushed in an instant by their senior, as fragile as an ant. At this moment, all the young students felt a surge of passionate blood boil within them. What had they been training for all their lives? Was it not to protect the people and things they cared about? Was it not so they could step forward in moments like this, turn the tide, and earn the admiration of thousands? Did you see that? Did you see that? I told you, once Senior Mu Chen arrived, that black corpse heavenly demon emperor would kneel. Xun'er, her face filled with excitement, placed her hands on her hips and proudly spoke to the surrounding members of the Luo God Society. Xun'er is truly a genius. Just a moment ago, everyone had been helpless about Xun'er's blind confidence. Yet now, they could not help but raise their thumbs in admiration. Haha, let's see who dares to challenge our Luo God Society in the future. Other students at Northern Song Spiritual Academy looked on with eyes full of envy, itching to join. After today's battle, it was clear that the Luo God Society would forever be the #1 society in the academy, no matter how many generations passed. Because even after they graduated and ventured into the Great 1,000 Worlds, as soon as they said, "The force I was once part of was founded by Mu Chen, and he is my senior," it would surely turn heads wherever they went. Some sharp-minded young students were already planning to seize an opportunity to join the Luo God Society once the academy settled down. This guy, Shun Songxing, Li Xiantong, and Wen Qingxian slowly recovered from their shock, exchanging glances. They couldn't help but smile wryly. The Mu Chen before them had surpassed their understanding. While they were still striving to reach the level of Heavenly Supreme, they now realized that Mu Chen had already surpassed the very level they were chasing. The immense gap was enough to crush any remaining courage to catch up. When I was at Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, I never realized how much trouble this guy could stir up. Li Xiantong sighed, his gaze shifting as he looked up at the beautiful figure in the sky. His expression darkened slightly. Perhaps back then, no one would have believed that Mu Chen would reach the heights he has today, except Luo Li. Others thought she had just found an insignificant stone on the beach, but she alone believed that stone would shine brighter than any diamond. Shen Songxing patted Li Xiantong on the shoulder with a sympathetic glance. He knew full well that Li Xiantong had been secretly in love with Luo Li all this time, but unfortunately, it seemed he would never have a chance. When Qing Xian sighed as well. In the past, she had always felt Mu Chun was not worthy of the radiant Luo Li, but now, she couldn't help but admit that the boy who once competed with them in the Spiritual Academy Grand Competition had grown to a point where he commanded respect. He was no longer the young boy he once was. He was now beginning to rule over the great thousand worlds. The North Abyss Dragon Kuan and Grand Song Academy headmaster descended from the sky. With the death of the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor and the collapse of the Demon Calamity, the greatest disaster facing their Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy had been lifted. A smile appeared on the headmaster's face. The other 4 Spiritual Academy headmasters also smiled and gathered to congratulate him. In their eyes, there was a hint of envy. They knew that Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy had produced an extraordinary student, and from this point forward, their academy would undergo tremendous changes. Its reputation would echo throughout the great thousand worlds. Perhaps, in the future, the 5 great academies would be led by Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. The once gloomy atmosphere of the world was now dispelled, replaced by laughter. In the sky, Mu Chun waved his sleeve, seemingly sweeping away the last trace of demonic energy. He then looked down at his hands, clearly shaken by the power he had just displayed when he wiped out the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor with a mere snap of his fingers. After all, before his seclusion, even when giving his all, he had only been on par with Mo Ku in battle. But now, if Mo Ku were to stand before him again, even with the might of the Mo Ku Yin Yang bottle, he likely wouldn't last more than a few exchanges in Mu Chen's hands. Because now, although he hadn't yet made his mark on the heavenly scroll, he was already able to draw on a small fragment of world force, and that alone was far beyond the late Saint grade. 5 years. Finally, it wasn't all in vain. Mu Chun murmured to himself before turning and landing in front of Luo Li. Luo Li, still lost in thought, stared at him in a daze. After all, only those with greater power could truly grasp the terrifying strength Mu Chun had just exhibited. Snap out of it, Mu Chun said, extending his hand in front of her, waving it with a smile. Luo Li's beautiful eyes shimmered as she rolled her eyes at him. Little did she know, with her grace and beauty, even a casual glance from her could captivate anyone. Impressive, huh? Mu Chun chuckled, a hint of pride in his voice. Only in front of the person he loved would he show this side of himself. Yes, you're impressive, Luo Li said, shaking her head in amusement. TSK, Mu Chun, you're something else now, came a surprised voice from behind. Lin Jing jumped up, eyeing Mu Chun from top to bottom, before pouting slightly and saying, I thought we had grown closer over the years, but it seems you've left me far behind. Xiao Xiao also approached, her enchanting eyes studying Mu Chun. Did you succeed? She now understood what Mu Chun had been doing over the past 5 years. Mu Chun stretched lazily, his deep gaze fixed on the void. Not quite yet, just a little more time. Although he hadn't made his name on the heavenly scroll yet, at this point, he could already feel the presence of the heavenly scroll. The 4 of them chatted for a while longer before Mu Chun led them down from the sky, landing before the Grand Song Academy headmaster and North Abyss Dragon Kuan. Mu Chun looked at their familiar faces, a complex mix of emotions stirring within him. When he had left Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, he had been just a young man who had barely stepped into the Supreme Realm. Yet now, that same young man was on the brink of claiming the great thousand worlds. Student Mu Chun, greetings to the headmaster and senior Dragon Kuan, Mu Chun said, cupping his hands respectfully. Although his strength had far surpassed the 2 in front of him, Mu Chun still held great respect for both the Grand Song Academy headmaster and the North Abyss Dragon Kuan. Back when he was at the Spiritual Academy, they had been of great assistance to him, especially the North Abyss Dragon Kuan, who had even taught him the Thunder God body. During a certain period, this body helped him overcome many obstacles. Seeing Mu Chun's humble demeanor, the Grand Song Academy headmaster and North Abyss Dragon Kuan couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. The young man they once knew had not become arrogant due to his current achievements. Instead, he remained gentle and modest as ever. At this moment, Shun Sangxing, Li Xiantong, Wen Qingxian, and Yi Qingling also came over. Their meeting was filled with joy and nostalgic exclamations. "Brother Mu-chun." Xun'er stood before him, her eyes twinkling as she smiled mischievously at him. Little Xun'er. Looking at her, Mu-chun couldn't help but feel a sense of nostalgia, recalling the time when he first entered the North Song Spiritual Academy. On that road, he had met a little girl in a white dress with a long ponytail and a face full of grievance. And now, that little girl had grown into a graceful and charming young woman. "I'm not that little anymore." Mu-chun reached out, and, just like back then, ruffled Xun'er's soft hair, messing it up, which caused her to glare at him with a look of mock resentment. After some playful banter with Xun'er, Mu-chun spotted Xun'er, who was smiling gently. Her long hair was loosely tied, giving her a more serene and quiet appearance than the carefree girl she once was. "I really must thank you, Xun'er, for breaking the jade talisman. It allowed me to sense the spatial mark and arrive in time," Mu-chun said with a smile. Xun'er returned the smile, her gaze shifting to Mu-chun and Luo Li, both of whom were radiant, shining so brightly that they drew all eyes toward them. "Thank you again. Otherwise, our 10,000 Phoenixes Spiritual Academy would have been in grave danger," she sighed softly, her voice tinged with sadness, for during their escape to the North Song continent, the Academy had suffered some casualties. Mu-chun could only gently pat her shoulder in comfort. "Brother Mu-chun, are you leaving soon?" Xun'er asked, interrupting. The others turned their gazes toward him. Feeling the reluctance in their eyes, Mu-chun smiled and looked up, his gaze fixed on the North Song Spiritual Academy. The familiar places still held the traces of his past. "I will stay in the North Song continent for a few days and completely eliminate the demon calamity within the Great Thousand Worlds." At Mu-chun's words, a thunderous cheer erupted from the North Song Spiritual Academy once again. Mu-chun smiled lightly at the scene, his hand being gently grasped by a cool jade-like hand. He returned the grip, his eyes deeply focused on the void, for he knew that this would likely be the last moment of peace before the coming battle. With the fall of the Black Corpse Heavenly Demon Emperor, the demon calamity in the North Song continent was eradicated, and the continent returned to peace. However, the land, scarred and desolate, would need time to heal. In the next 2 days, Mu-chun, along with Luo Li, Lin Jing, and Xiao Xiao, traveled throughout the Great Thousand Worlds, heading to one demon calamity after another. With a powerful ally like Mu-chun, the so-called demon calamity posed no threat. Wherever they went, the surging calamities were quickly suppressed, leaving no opportunity for them to rise again. In this efficient manner, within just 2 days, the Great Thousand Worlds gradually returned to peace. North Song Continent, North Song Spiritual Academy. After the recent battles, the North Song Spiritual Academy appeared quite devastated, now in a state of disrepair, with much work to be done. Despite the damage to the academy, fortunately, the students had not suffered significant casualties. The atmosphere within the academy was still quite lively. The presence of Mu-chun, in particular, greatly boosted the morale of the students, and their sense of belonging to the academy reached new heights. At the rear of the Luo God Society headquarters, on a hilltop, Mu-chun and Luo Li strolled together, their expressions calm. From their vantage point, they could see the shimmering mirror lake in the distance, with many students busy at work, expanding dormitories and houses. The entire North Song Spiritual Academy was bustling with energy and vitality. Some students had spotted Mu-chun and Luo Li, their gazes filled with admiration and envy. The two of them, bathed in the glow of the setting sun, appeared dazzlingly radiant. "I still remember, it was right there, where we founded the Luo God Society." Mu-chun gazed at the bright mirror lake, a smile full of nostalgia curling at the corners of his mouth as he spoke. "Back then, we were young, full of youthful vigor, and it was during that time, within this spiritual academy, that we met many friends and rivals. But as the years passed, some of them became lost to us, mere passers-by in the journey of life. However, what Mu-chun felt most fortunate about was that the girl by his side had remained unchanged, just like she was back then. Luo Li, with her porcelain-like face glowing with a jade-like radiance, had a gentle curve to her lips. Back then, they, along with many new students, had founded the Luo God Society, working hard to establish their footing within the Northern Song Spiritual Academy. Now, as these memories surfaced from the depths of his mind, they carried a faint sense of happiness. Luo Li, her eyes clear as glazed glass, looked at the distant expansion of the Northern Song Spiritual Academy. She suddenly smiled and said, "I heard that the 5 great academies are planning to merge, and they're even thinking of letting you come up with a name for it." Oh, Chen was a bit surprised upon hearing this, then smiled and nodded. That's indeed a big deal. Nowadays, in the Great Thousand Worlds, spiritual academies are on the rise. Some have extremely strong foundations, surpassing even the 5 great academies. Now that they are merging, perhaps they will gain great renown in the future. As for the name, Chen looked up and stared into the void. A smile spread across his face as he spoke. How about calling it Firmament Academy? Borrowing the name from the Heavenly Scroll, he hoped that in the future, this Firmament Academy would produce true geniuses, leaving their mark on the Heavenly Scroll. Firmament Academy. Luo Li murmured softly, then smiled gently. That's a good name, very majestic. However, with the merging of the 5 great academies, it seems our 5 academy tournament will no longer be held in the future. Luo Li stopped and gracefully knelt down on the grass, a trace of nostalgia in her voice. She still remembered how, during the 5 academy tournament, she and Chen had worked together to defeat one strong opponent after another. Chen also sat beside Luo Li, then subtly stretched his arm and wrapped it around her slender waist. His arm brushed against her dress, pressing into a small space before finally feeling the curve of her body. Noticing Chen's actions, Luo Li raised her clear, contrasting eyes and stared at him. If it were anyone else, they would likely have been intimidated by her gaze. But Chen, with his thick skin, pretended not to notice, chuckling as he gently pulled her into his embrace. "You're really thick-skinned," Luo Li said with a soft pinch at Chen's waist, a playful scold in her voice. Then, she slightly tilted her head and rested it on Chen's shoulder. In that moment, her body completely relaxed. The two of them sat close together for a long time. After a while, Luo Li's beautiful eyes looked at Chen, and she whispered, "Chen, do you think you can defeat the heavenly evil god this time?" Chen pressed his lips tightly together, remaining silent for a moment before slowly replying. "The heavenly evil god has not yet shown himself. We can't predict how strong he will be in his 9-eyes state. Therefore, I'm not sure if, with the combined strength of the Flame Emperor, Martial Ancestor, and myself, we can achieve victory." Chen furrowed his brows tightly. Though he always presented a confident demeanor in front of others, it was only when facing Luo Li that he allowed his innermost thoughts to show. Because that 9-eyes evil god was truly too unpredictable. Upon hearing this, Luo Li's face became more serious, her gaze fixed on Chen's furrowed brows. She felt a pang of concern, knowing just how much pressure Chen was under. "Chen, you've already done your best," Luo Li said gently as she smoothed the furrows in his brow with her delicate hand, her voice soothing. "Do you remember? You once told me that one day, you would become an unmatched powerhouse to shield me from all the storms and tribulations, and now I can tell you. Actually, back then, in my heart, you were already that invincible, peerless powerhouse." Luo Li's eyes were filled with tenderness, and the emotion in them was so deep that it made one want to drown in it. She gazed at Chen, her exquisite, perfect face tinged with a hint of crimson. Her voice, soft as a whisper, carried a sense of irresistible, intoxicating affection. "Chen, I'm truly grateful that I met you back then on the Spirit Road. I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request.